Hello, my name is Devin Ferraris, and I will be talking to you about sickle cell anemia. This video was created as a project for my human inheritance course at Bentley University for the fall of 2017. So, sickle cell anemia is an inherited blood disorder, and people that are affected by this have abnormal hemoglobin located in their red blood cells. So, hemoglobin basically is a protein that carries oxygen and delivers it to the tissue. However, with people that have sickle cell anemia, this hemoglobin tends to stick together and form long strands within the red blood cells. These strands basically change the shape of the red blood cells, making it look like a sickle, and also makes them stiff. And because of these attributes, the red blood cells aren't able to, move through small blood vessels as effectively. This odd shape also causes blockages, which basically either slows down or prevents blood flow, and that decreases oxygen delivery to the tissues. So in this picture, you can see that for normal red blood cells at the top, they're disc shaped, they're nice and smooth and flexible, and inside of them the hemoglobin is evenly distributed. However, at the bottom, you see that there are strands inside the sickle cells, which causes them to take on that shape. And because they have that shape, a blockage occurred in one of the blood vessels at the bottom left, you can see. So one of the symptoms of sickle cell disease or anemia is anemia, and basically this is when the overall red blood cell count is lower than normal. Now, this occurs because sickle cells tend to last about 10 to 20 days, while healthy red blood cells last about 90 to 120 days. The body does produce red blood cells, but it isn't able to keep up with the rate at which the sickle cells are dying. Now, some of the symptoms of just anemia is basically shortness of breath, exhaustion, and dizziness. Another symptom of sickle cell disease is our pain episodes, and this occurs when sickle cells block blood flow and oxygen delivery. Some of the common areas where pain tends to occur is in the lower back, the abdomen, the legs, the arms, and the chest. It's not limited to these areas. It can occur in other areas as well. Uh, Lastly, uh, people that have sickle cell anemia tend to get frequent infections, and this occurs because uh, sickle cells tend to accumulate inside the spleen, which ends up damaging the spleen. And because the spleen is damaged, it's not able to fight infections as effectively, and this makes the sickle cell patients more susceptible to pneumonia, meningitis, and septicemia. So the way sickle cell anemia occurs genetically is that a mutation occurs in the hemoglobin beta gene, and this gene is located in chromosome 11. Now, the specific mutation actually occurs as missense mutation, and basically there's an amino acid change that causes just the disease to take place. So as you can see, the adenine and thymine nucleotides switch in the in the DNA sequence for someone with sickle cell anemia. If you compare that with the normal DNA sequence, and this ends up causing the body to code for a uracil in the RNA sequence, and that ends up you know coding for valine as the amino acid to be attached in the polypeptide chain instead of glutamic acid, like is shown in the left side with the normal the normal coding. So because the valine is added to the polypeptide chain, that changes the properties of the hemoglobin molecule, which makes it more susceptible to sticking. So sickle cell anemia is an autosomal recessive disorder. So basically, if in order for someone to be affected by it, they would have to inherit the recessive gene from each parent. Now, if someone does inherit just one gene, one defective gene, they will have the sickle cell trait, and basically they're carriers of the sickle hemoglobin gene. Um, People that are carriers, they their condition isn't as serious as someone with sickle cell anemia, but they do have to like stay away from high altitudes, just like people that are affected with sickle cell anemia. Here's just a picture showing the inheritance pattern of sickle cell anemia. So obviously you can see the father and the mother are both carriers, and for the child in case one, he didn't inherit any of the defective genes, so he's fine. The children in case two and three, they both inherited just one defective gene from the parents, so they're both carriers. However, for the child in case four, she inherited the recessive gene from the mother and the father, making her, sadly, to have sickle cell anemia. So sickle cell anemia is the most common inherited blood disorder in the United States. Approximately 100,000 Americans are affected by this, and most of them are of African origin. So, one out of every 365 Black or African American births is a baby that has sickle cell anemia. As for Hispanic Americans, it's only one out of every 16,300 births. Uh, Now, obviously, since this is a good amount of the population, having a reliable cure for sickle cell anemia will benefit a lot of them, or all of them, pretty much. However, they're not the only ones that will benefit from a cure. Individuals with the sickle cell trait will also benefit. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I have a cousin who's a carrier, and one of the concerns she voiced to me was that she was kind of afraid of marrying someone that is also a carrier because she's worried that if they have a child, that the kid might end up having sickle cell anemia. So if there's a reliable cure to that, then that basically concern wouldn't really be a concern anymore. So anyway, that was my PowerPoint presentation on sickle cell anemia. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned a lot. Thank you.